Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. It's good to have you here. We are on day 19? Yeah, 19 of the Karen Reed retrial. Good morning, duty. Let's see if any of the following is facts. Because after yesterday, who knows, right? Who knows? Dr. Judson Welcher is a biomechanical engineer and accident reconstructionist with Aperture. Welcher has been employed in the field of biomechanical engineering and accident reconstruction for over 28 years. Specializes in trauma causation and prevention, human tolerance, restraint design, accident reconstruction, and amusement park ride tolerances. Oh, I'm going to love this guy. I'm a roller coaster person. I love roller coasters. And right now, I'm like jonesing really bad because it's been like 2 years since I've been on one. 2, 3? It's been a while. I'm watching roller coaster videos constantly now. Like when I'm not here, I'm watching a roller coaster video. I'm like, we got to go somewhere, Travis. We have to go somewhere. I'm like, I'm having withdrawals. I'm jonesing really bad. Like, we got to go somewhere. This guy's my friend. These are the people that keep me safe when I'm doing my favorite hobby. But yes, after the disaster that was, what's his name? Shannon Burgess yesterday. But Welcher's a doctor. He's Dr. Welcher, I believe. And don't, I mean, I guess you could fake that. I guess you could tell people to call me Dr. Welcher and it not be true. But that's a little more verifiable, I guess. Like, if you're telling people to call you doctor, you better be a doctor, right? But this poor guy yesterday, like Peter even said he started to feel sorry for him, but then other people are like, no, don't feel sorry for this guy. He did it to himself. But, like, seriously, you're going to put on your resume, sure, go ahead and put, I'm working on a bachelor's degree. There's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and put, I'm working on a bachelor's degree. But to actually put, hey, Robbie, to actually put like a graduation date. And not only that, one of the colleges doesn't even have the degree he said that he had. Like, they don't even have that degree. Oh, no, that was a mistake. It hasn't been updated. No, that's not, it hasn't been updated. It doesn't exist. You can't update what never existed. That's, and it's not a mistake. It's, hey, just because it's not a mistake, it's a lie. I mean, how else do you say that? If you write down you graduated from somewhere in this year, that's not a misunderstanding. That's not a mistake. That's not a not updated. That's a didn't happen. That's a lie. But if you look at his CV now on, I don't know if it's on LinkedIn or if it's on Aperture's website. Anyway, either way, there's a watermark on it that says not for, what does it say? I just saw it this morning. Not for expert. Where's my phone? Judy texted it to me. I saw it with my own eyes, but Judy also texted it to me. Not for expert designation. Right, exactly. It's not a lie. I mean, it's not an error, it's a lie. When he says error, he means it's a lie. So, what tickles me the most about this situation is that, um, dang, I keep forgetting to watch Runkle because he goes so late. I mean, he starts early enough I could watch, but then I forget. Whatever. Um, um, sorry guys. The ADHD kicked in, and now I have no idea what I was talking about. Trying to do everything at once. Um, okay. So Runkle checked it's on the Aperture website. Oh, it's been that way since February? Okay, so that's not a new thing. Well, then, okay. They never. Now I'm confused. So, how is he an expert in a trial if if that's been how it is on the website since February? Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Okay. So, the part that tickles me is that Bev was like siding with the prosecution, as she does, that they didn't need to voir dire this expert or these experts. She gave Brennan a chance to voir dire the ARCA guys, and he laid in to the first guy. Is it Wolf? Well, whatever his name is. The first guy, the first ARCA guy that he voir dired. He laid into him, man. He was just downright rude and ridiculous, and um it was awful. And then when the defense wanted to voir dire these guys, Judge Canoni said, no, you don't need to. But then Alessi did digging over the weekend, I guess. And it was a good thing he didn't get to voir dire him because he got to ask him these questions in front of the jury and we got to see what a liar this guy is. So he totally shot down his credibility. So it ended up coming back to bite Brennan in the ass. So it ended up being a good thing for the defense that they didn't get to voir dire these guys. So that's the thing that so tickles me about this is that what Bev was doing to help out the prosecution just turned around to bite them in the butt. And it's just so beautiful. It's like karma has come back to get Brennan. It just, I love it. It's just so delicious. I just love it. I love it. Hey, Carla. Oh, okay. Okay. So he's not so he's not an expert, even though they're using him as an expert. Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. If I was a jury, I would be like, this guy is not an expert. So how can he? I mean, I have an associate's in science. And all I know is nursing, but that doesn't make me an expert in nursing. It's an associate's degree. Plus, if he's going to lie about that, what else is he going to lie about? Oh. Oh, okay. So that doesn't apply to the person, just that copy of the resume. Oh, okay. So it's not as bad as it seems. Gotcha. Oh, okay. But still, it doesn't make him look good. So the buffer zone thing has gotten crazy again too, because the guy that got assaulted yesterday has a strained um rotator cuff and is in a sling today. And the girl that got stripped down naked practically the other day has been arrested. It makes me so mad. because it's First Amendment rights. It's ridiculous. Absolutely absurd. And it just makes me so mad because it's not right. I wouldn't have called him either. Or I would have said, because if that is what it means, if that CV on the website, if that's what it means, I would have said, you need to give me an updated, correct CV before you get on the stand in case this happens. And I would have got out in front of it. They usually ask them on the stand what their career, like their education and stuff is, and Brennan did not do that yesterday. So that's on Brennan. Brennan should have gotten an updated education on the stand before Alessi got a chance to get up there and just destroy everything. She was just sitting there and supposedly inside the buffer zone, which, to my understanding, there's not supposed to be a buffer zone at all anymore. They're just not allowed to block entrances and exits, interfere in any way with anybody going in or out of the courtyard. According to court TV, that is what the new order says. But apparently it's confusing people. That doesn't sound confusing to me. And what's confusing about don't block entrances and exits? I don't understand. Yeah, but the police, I guess, don't want to let it go, and they think there's still a buffer zone when there's not.
Here, all persons having anything to do before Canoni, Superior Court, Old Dedham, within County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is in session. Please be seated.
Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jury. Refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday. Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow my instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Yes. Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? Everyone said no or shook their heads. Thank you. Here we have Mr. Burgess, please.
So I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Thank you.
He's thinking, no, not really. It's really not.
All right, Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Mr. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday, your experience was brought up in questions, correct?
Correct.
On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Incorrect.
There was no discussion in your direct examination about having certifications in Celebrite and Magnet forensic axiom? Did I mishear that?
No, if I misheard your question, it was,
I asked about certifications. I'll repeat it, sir,
Sure.
in case I misspoke. On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
yes, correct.
However, on your direct examination, no questions were asked of you at all about your supposed education, correct?
Correct.
And you did not bring up your educational background at all on
Correct.
direct examination, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize accuracy, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize reliability, correct?
Correct.
Both are important.
Correct.
It's criminal proceeding we're in, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, accuracy and reliability are especially important in a criminal case as opposed to a civil case, correct?
I think they would be equally important in both, but yes,
No,
But they're certainly
life is on
important in a criminal case.
correct.
civil
And
is just one.
accuracy and reliability are especially important when seconds and minutes matter as they matter and as you testified to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were it down to the second, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint presentation that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday. Mr. Woe, could we please bring up slide 32 of the presentation Mr. Burgess discussed with the jury yesterday? And Your Honor, with your permission to publish,
Okay,
thank you. Mr. Burgess, pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's Lexus vehicle traveling to 34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence?
Yes.
According to your timeline, Miss Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please? Mr. Wolk.
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, just give you a heads up. Of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe residence at 5:07 a.m.
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Woke, to slide 34, please. And these are all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct, they
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Is slide 34 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m.? I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35:01, correct.
I'm sorry, thank
Yes.
you, 12:35. And according to your analysis Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dayton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes.
Slide 35, please, Mr. Wold. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle being towed by the Massachusetts police vendor from her parents' residence in Dayton?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to your timeline that you created here, Ms. Reed's vehicle was powered on at 4:11 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, and towed to the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, this timestamp is.
Slide 36, please, Mr. Wood. Is slide 36 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to the timeline you created, Ms. Reed's vehicle powered off at 5.
Oh, I disagree, Carla. No, I think Brennan did it on purpose. Because this has been the only expert in the history of experts that nobody asked him about his education. That's like the very first thing you ask an expert. That's how you get them qualified as experts in a trial, is to ask them their education. And he was not asked.
5:36:42 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Objection. Objection.
I'll let him have this.
Okay.
Is your analysis is your analysis on slide 36 accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
The Lexus, yes.
According to the Lexus.
Yes.
In point of fact, Mr. Burgess, none of the 5 timelines that we just reviewed from your presentation are accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Are you aware, and if we could go back to the first slide, which is slide 32, and we'll look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
Are you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022? Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's what
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th. If I misspoke and said the 29th. Yes.
Okay. You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
The core basis of your job, your role in this case, is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct.
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events, is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
So your discussion of the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct.
But
Yes.
my question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that. Yes.
And that was your testimony yesterday, what you spoke about.
Yes.
Let's turn to let's up we could, and thank you for taking that down, Mr. Your actually, to mitigate the inconsistencies that you analyzed yesterday between independent clocks, am I correct that your position is that seeing timestamps from multiple sources to identify discrepancies, and when possible, leveraging time anchors, events that contain both a system timestamp and an external physical event to identify and correct timing discrepancies? Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Yesterday, we talked about the scientific method. You recall that, sir?
I do.
And how it's designed to prevent bias from infecting the analysis. You recall that as well?
Yes, I do.
And yesterday, you agreed that experts should never selectively gather and interpret evidence to confirm a pre-existing belief while neglecting evidence that contradicts those beliefs, correct?
Correct.
And doing that is called confirmation bias, which you said you understood yesterday, right?
That is correct.
That would be improper to do that, correct?
Yes.
It would raise the specter, if not the reality, of unreliability if that occurred, correct?
It could, yes.
And it could also lead into errors in forensic analyses, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your January 30th report, sir.
Okay.
And this is your first report.
What did I do?
Your second report being the May 8th report. In your January 30th report, you did not issue any opinion or conclusion with regard to the timing of what you call the text stream event 11/62/2 in your January 30th report, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't even mention either the phrase text stream event or the phrase 11/62/2 in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not.
But in your that January 30, 2025 report, you did evaluate the variance between the Lexus infotainment system on the one hand and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone data on the other, correct?
Correct.
In fact, in that report, the January 30th report, you compared the call logs on Miss Reed's Lexus infotainment system with the call logs on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone in order to evaluate whether there was a variance, correct?
Correct.
And do I have it correct in your report that it's the position that the timestamp call log data, specifically the recorded calls between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, along with the infotainment power event logs, were analyzed for what you called clock skew by cross-referencing them against other independent data sources, right?
No, so that would have been comparing the timestamps from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone with the timestamps from the defendant's Lexus.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Right. To Miss Reed's Lexus.
Correct.
And a forensic comparison of these data sets was aimed to identify timestamp discrepancies, correct?
Correct.
To identify potential clock skew, correct?
Correct.
And potential clock drift that could impact event reconstruction, correct?
Correct.
All this stated in your January 30th report, right?
Correct.
I'm a moment. Your Honor, may I have this marked as the next exhibit in order for identification?
Yes. The BBB for ID.
May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Burgess, I am presenting to you what has been marked as BBB for identification. I'd ask you to take a look at it, sir, and then pick your head up when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at it.
Okay. Sure.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. What do you recognize that document to be, sir?
Sure. So this is a graph that I put together that is comparing timestamps, call timestamps from the infotainment module with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And is that exhibit BBB for identification in your January 30, 25 report?
Yes, it is.
And did you create that chart that is depicted in exhibit BBB for identification?
Yes, I did.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the information that you discussed in page 33 of your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
I offer exhibit BBB for identification into evidence, Your Honor.
If we can introduce the whole report to put it in
Why don't I
context.
see you at sidelines to look for?
Yeah, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, I offer Exhibit BBB into evidence.
Okay.
Exhibit 189.
Thank you.
They represented to the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am represented to you what is now Exhibit 189 in evidence. Ask you to, once again, take a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head when you've had a fair opportunity to look at that document.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock skew, and clock drift, you did not compare the time of the three-point turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time, no.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
This data in that exhibit captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay.
So this data, just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of reading in the far right-hand column. 2 seconds,
I don't know if she's still on the finish.
1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And yet, you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to do that. This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report on January 30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the contrast. With your Honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
Yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report,
Sure.
You indicated only this. The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16 to 21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:31 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Do I have that correct?
Yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down. Thank you, Mr. Woke. Let's talk about what information you learned after you issued your January 30, 2025 report. Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
That's
From a presentation by Mr. DeSogra. Yes,
Well,
correct.
I'm thinking, because if it's going by this dude's new time, they're acting like 21 to 29 seconds is a big deal. I don't see how it could be. It's not in my house. But maybe. So I'm kind of hopeful that maybe it will. Like if they're using his time on the other guy's reports, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm kind of hoping it will. Yeah, it's Greek to me too, Carla.
I understand you want to add Mr. DeSogra. My question
Objection.
is,
Sustained.
okay, yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'm focusing on what would you like to call it? You call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure. We can.
I want
we
to
can
use whatever parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slide's fine. Yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 1162 to what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely. Could we publish what is in evidence of what is 188?
Okay,
And I'm also, sir, at your request, may I approach, please?
yes.
At your request, I want to give you
Sure.
that, if we have 188, we'll just give them the actual marked exhibit. You know what we'll do? We'll use the slide. If you need an exhibit, we'll pull the exhibit and move it along. Please publish, Mr. Woke. Now, if we could enlarge the text, we don't need the map, so make that as large as you can, please, Mr. Woke, in the relevant portions. All righty. You're aware that according to Dr. Welcher's analysis, as depicted in this slide in evidence, the 1162-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 1162-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
correct.
You we can take that down now, Mr. Woke. You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffen's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence?
Okay.
And if we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available, if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes. Timestamp. Yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question. The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event is after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you see the lock event which occurred at 12:32:09?
Yes, I do.
That is also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
That 12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct. From the Lexus clock.
So if we could go back, and we're going to toggle back with your honor's permission between these two slides for the next couple questions. If we can go back to an enlarged Dr. Welcher's slide. That 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09. Yes.
Now, if we could go back to and zero in, please. Now, but even Mr. Whiffin's report establishes additional activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the event chosen by Dr. Welcher, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, Mr. Whiffin identifies a, quote, lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event identified by Dr. Welcher at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct. Using the unadjusted clock.
I would like, does Dr. Welcher at all use the words unadjusted clock in his slide, sir?
No. He does not.
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask you a question about whether, in fact, Mr. Whiffin identifies a lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event at 12:31:38 to 12:43, as stated in your colleague's report, Dr. Welcher, the slide presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know whether a lock event on an iPhone requires human interaction?
Typically, yes, it would.
Is it just typically, or does it?
Well, it does. And in this case specifically, I believe it was via the lock button.
Correct. But this specific instance, the lock, it requires somebody, a human being, to actually press a button on the side, correct?
Unless it's auto locking, yes, it requires a button press, yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe had an auto locking function on it, sir?
No, as I said, he used the lock button.
Right.
I rarely.
If we can enlarge that, do you see the end of health event 36 steps that we talked yesterday that was covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you see that occurring at 12:32:16 a.m.?
I don't believe we talked about that yesterday, but yes, I do see
Do
that.
you see it?
I do, yes.
And that's also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, finally, do you see the entry pocket state detected at 12:33:14 a.m.? You see that, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know what a pocket state is, sir?
I do know what a pocket state is.
Do you know when the pocket states occurred on the iPhone of John O'Keefe pursuing? You didn't analyze
Yeah.
pocket state
Because
detections on
never
Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not personally.
Mine with the lock button.
Do you believe pocket state detected data? Well, let me just go back and confirm. So you didn't analyze with any source pocket state detection information with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go back and summarize for each of the ones you did look at and analyze that you just testified. Every single one of those that we just discussed, those user interaction events, occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a text stream event of 11:62:2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Do you understand? Let's, if we can go back, please, to Dr. Welcher's slide. Highlight the text again, please, Mr. Wolf. Do you understand that Dr. Welcher is correlating the infotainment trigger 11:62:2 with an alleged collision? Do you understand that?
Objection.
Let's come to sidebar, please.
Why? Why? I like the way Judge Fiddler does it. Just say right there from the bench, overruled or sustained, and say why. To the jury. Why you always have to go to sidebar? It's ridiculous. Makes the jury think you're hiding something.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could go now, Mr. Woke, back to the slide from Dr. Welcher's slide presentation. And if you could re-enlarge the applicable section that we've had up before. Thanks for your patience,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess. You have reviewed this slide and this specific data in this slide previously, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to, Mr. Woke, just go back to the slide so we're clear on what this is. So this slide here is what you're speaking about, right?
Correct.
And you've reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
So now, Mr. Burgess, I'd like to ask you a question. Every single one of the user interaction events that we talked about, steps, lock, etc., occurred after Dr. Welcher's, what he calls an infotainment event, which you call a tech stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that yes.
So the answer is yes?
With the caveat.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
Sorry.
you hadn't finished.
Sure.
Please finish your answer.
Yes, with the caveat that user interaction only applies to the device lock, steps, and the pocket state are not duplicative of user interaction per se.
Let's just assume that is the case. Let's then just focus on what you consider to be a user interaction, which is device lock, correct?
Correct.
And the device lock event that you agree is a user interaction, we could go back to that just so we have clarity. The lock event that you agree is a user interaction occurred at 12:32:09, according to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
In that 12:32:09 time period, we could go back to Dr. Welcher, it is after the end of the text stream event dubbed as 11:62:2, correct?
Correct. According to
And that's
sorry.
26 seconds. I didn't finish my question. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So go ahead, finish your question. Don't answer, Mr. Burgess, until the complete question.
In that event lock, even according to Dr. Welcher's own words in his own slide, occurs 20 seconds after the end of the text stream event 11:62:2, correct?
of the unadjusted clock, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, do you want the lights on, Mr. Lessie?
I'm going to keep that up. And so to repeat my according to Dr. Welcher, the licensed engineers, your colleague at Aperture, his slide that he has here, the last O'Keefe cell phone event, the lock, occurred within approximately 26 seconds after the end of the text stream event dubbed 11:62:2. That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct. According to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock, but do the words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
we can take that down and with the court's permission, turn the lights back on, please. Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who reviewed the findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
In fact, in your May 8th, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report, you only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
We have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I love Alice in Wonderland.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's in Star Trek canon now too. It's even cooler. Spock's mom read it to him when he was a little boy.
I'm gonna need to be heard on this as well.
All right.
So he could learn about humanity. Not my idea of a good book to teach your child about humanity, but still. A famous nonsense poem by Lewis Carroll, which first appeared in his book Through the Looking Glass. It describes the hunt for a monster called the Jabberwock using humorous, invented words. I had an Alice in Wonderland record when I was little that told the stories and the poems, and it had songs. I don't remember the songs though. I do remember the same song, Alice in Wonderland. I don't remember all the words though. I don't know whatever happened to those records. They'd probably be worth some money now if I kept them. I had a bunch of storybook records like that. Oh, shoot. I keep forgetting we're not caught up to live. I can fast forward through these.
Excuse me, Mr. Burgess.
Sure.
I'm going to present to you 2 documents, each of which is marked for identification. The first is Exhibit CCC for identification. That is one slide out of what is marked as Exhibit DDD for identification. And Exhibit CCC is one page out of Exhibit DDD for identification. And I'd ask you, sir, to take a look at those documents and reference either one. And please let me know, sir, when you've had a fair opportunity to review those documents so I can proceed with questions about them.
Sure. Okay.
Sir, can you please read the exhibit designation on the entire slide presentation?
On DDD,
Pardon me?
on D, exhibit DDD.
And that's triple D as in David?
Correct.
So in exhibit DDD, is that the March 5, 2005 PowerPoint presentation of Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday is that exhibit DDD, the March 5, 2025 slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, was part of the reason why you created your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer exhibit exhibit CCC into evidence and do not offer exhibit DDD at this time.
Okay, the witness just spoke of DDD, so why don't you have him just say what CCC is before we put it in?
I will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, is exhibit CCC a slide page out of exhibit DDD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now it'll.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now offer exhibit CCC for identification into evidence.
Yes.
Thank you. And I also hand back to Madam Court Reporter exhibit DDD for identification.
Exhibit 190.
I have not seen anybody in the gallery because every time I look up, it's on the witness. And I'm crocheting again as normal. So
And sir, do you have before you read the three letters, please, just so we're on the same page in that exhibit?
Jim, we need that. The
That
other
the one that's in
Thank you.
the one page?
Yes. Exhibit 190.
And that's the entitled All Possible Combinations?
Yes, it is.
So we'll refer to that as exhibit 190, okay?
Okay.
Have you had a fair opportunity to refresh yourself on that one-page chart?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, may I please publish exhibit 190?
Yes.
And if we could enlarge it without, I think, Mr. Wolk, we can obscure for the moment the all positive on the right and come back to that as needed.
they'll probably just call it
Thank you.
triple K.
Now, Mr. DeSogra, who is an expert for the defense, took the data points you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis that I was referring to in previous slides, correct?
Correct. For a lot of data points that do not apply for the time of the accident.
I understand you may have a view as to whether they apply or not. I'm just trying to understand
Objection.
what you understood he did.
Again,
I'll repeat that. Yes,
so
Your
we'll
Honor.
strike the comment part and just a
I'll
question,
repeat and
please.
just go to the question. So you understand that Mr. DeSogra took in your January 30, 2025 and simply performed the last step in your analysis, correct?
In my report, in addition to Dr. Welcher's.
Right. In addition to that.
Correct.
Now, what I want to do is just elucidate the columns and their meaning. So the column on the right equals the number of seconds, and it's the far right, the number of seconds between the end of the 11:62:2 text stream event that in the slide of Dr. Welcher is ending at 12:31:43 and the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone that's occurred at 12:32:09, correct?
Correct.
And that's your understanding of that column as well.
Correct.
Now, even taking your colleague Dr. Welcher's assumption that the last user interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone occurred at 12:32:09 a.m. on January 29, 2022, is Mr. DeSogra demonstrating in this chart that by your January 30 report, there are no circumstances where the trigger event of 11:62:2 occurs before the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
After.
Sustained. There's one part of your question that needs to
Okay.
be omitted.
In terms of this chart, do you agree that the methodology and application of took the last user interaction data point of Dr. Welcher in his slide of 12:32:09 and applied the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30th report? Do you agree that that's what Mr. DeSogra did?
No, I do not.
What do you believe Mr. DeSogra did here?
Well, so the math is correct. So when he's trying to adjust clock variances between the two, correct adjustments.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get at is just what you understood Mr. DeSogra did in this chart. Do you agree, based upon what Mr. DeSogra did as represented in this chart, there are no circumstances where the 11:62:2 text stream event occurs? Well, let me have you describe what you believe Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to comparing, based upon this chart, the 11:62:2 text stream event of Dr. Welcher with the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust the clock from the Lexus to the Mr. O'Keefe's out.
I understand your comment. But my question, sir, is this. What do you understand Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to this chart. Do you understand what he is doing in this chart?
Correct.
I'd just like you to state what it is you understand he is doing.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust timestamps.
He's trying to adjust timestamps. In adjusting timestamps, do you agree that Mr. DeSogra makes the point with this chart that there are no circumstances where the 1162 trigger occurs before the lock event on John O'Keefe's phone?
Gotcha.
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. Let me see if I can clarify this in this my question.
Sure.
Do you believe, on this chart, he is showing numerically and arithmetically that there are no circumstances where the text stream event 1162 occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it in that form.
So yes, I understand he's trying to show that.
Right. Well, he did more than try. Isn't that what he, by his math, that he is demonstrating?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, but it is inaccurate.
I understand. But that's, again, the question is that what he demonstrates using this chart?
Yes.
And what he demonstrates is that Mr. DeSoga demonstrates that there are no circumstances where the 1162 trigger event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, inaccurately.
So I'm asking what Mr. DeSogra demonstrates in this report, and isn't it correct that Mr. DeSogra, using this math, Mr. DeSogra demonstrates and concludes that there are no circumstances where the 1162 text stream event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Does that demonstrate that?
Yes, inaccurately.
Okay.
All right, so let's.
I'm going to move on, Your Honor. I'm going to move on. And this methodology and approach of Mr. DeSogra is simply math that he's using, correct?
No, it's not simply math.
Well, let's go to the clock variance values in the middle column on that chart. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Those are, as of March 5 of the date of this, that this column was created, nothing in that middle column is new, is it? That data.
Yes, some of that data is new.
Well, the source data upon which it is created is not new, is it?
No, it is not.
All right. So the source data of that column, it's not new.
Correct.
And the middle column uses your data points from your January 30th report, correct?
No, not all of those are.
But it does use some of the data from your January 30 report, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is the reason that you did not take that final analytical step that we've been talking about in your January 30th report, and this is a question, is the reason you failed to take that final analytical final analytic step we've been talking about in your January 30 report was because you knew if you did that if you calculated the time of the 1162 text stream event based upon your own methodological analysis of the clock skew, there would always be continued interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the text stream event?
No.
So you deny that?
Yes.
Did you keep your January 30, 2025 report purposefully vague by merely noting a clock skew without engaging in any further analysis, such as tethering that clock skew or otherwise connecting it to the text stream event in Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
No, I did not.
Switch to another topic. Take that down. Thank you, Mr. Wobe. After reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. DeSogra, 2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3, all of which established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone. You then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8, 2025, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No. So I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we've been reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a text stream event 1162.2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before misheard you. Yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So let me just ask it through a question.
Sure.
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague, Dr. Welcher, on 1162.2 that establishes the text stream event as 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
Yes, I did.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
Each one of and all of those 3 established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it if that's what, let's see what the answer is.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps. Yes.
Let me ask my question again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
After reviewing what we've discussed, prepared by Dr. Welcher, Mr. DeSogra, and Ian Whiffen, each and all of which established that the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report. You departed in your May 8th, 2000. Do you have that report in
I
front
do.
of you?
Yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis let's start it this way. In this May 8, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162.2 text stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay, so you didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
But you did that in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
You call that a clarification.
I do.
In your January 2025 report, you compared call log entries between the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare.
Correct.
Now, in your May 8th, 2025 report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Okay. So you used another method.
Correct.
In your May 8, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other timeframes as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the juror in your January 30 report where you ever made that statement.
Sure. So it's not worded exactly like that, but that would be in conclusion 5.
And conclusion number 5 is on page 37 of your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
And you concede at least as much that at least different words are used in paragraph 5 in your January 30th, 2025 report, correct? And your position is that it's the same statement as in your May 8th, 2025 report? Because that's my question.
That is correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, instead of applying the offsets from the call logs, which are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare, as you stated just moments ago, you decided to use, in your words, quote, approximate time of the 3-point turn as your anchor between the two devices. Do I have that right?
Yes, you do.
Isn't what you did and we just discussed a classic example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
So you believe that
No.
choosing the 3-point turn as the independent data source is the only way you could ever get the text stream event to even possibly occur after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That adjustment is the only adjustment that can be applied due to the data. Yes.
And that adjustment is the only thing that can be done to get the text stream event 1162.2 to occur after on Mr. O'Keefe, right?
Correct.
And that only one is the one that you chose, correct?
Correct.
And that's only because it's not a pinpoint in time. It's an amorphous range that can only, in your words, be approximated, correct?
No, that is because it is the only time adjustment in that time range that can be applied.
So it's your view that that's the only one that can be applied, but it is what you're correct?
Correct.
Isn't the additional user activity on O'Keefe's device that occurred yes, yeah. Isn't coming on John O'Keefe's device, his cell phone, that occurred after the lock event?
No.
Well, let's take a look at events. You tell me if I'm correct or not, occur after the text stream event 1162.2.
Sure.
So do you recall our discussion yesterday about the Apple Health of 36 steps over 84? Do you recall that?
No.
And do you recall that at 12? And that's after the text stream event of Dr. Welcher that he put in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you also recall a Doppler pocket state detection at 12:33:14? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And that is almost an entire minute after the 1162.2 text stream event that is identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide presentation, correct?
Correct. And neither one of those are user interaction.
I understand your well, but let's just take one of them.
Sure.
And that is the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet at 12:32:16. Would you agree that those steps covering that distance is human activity at least? Would you agree that's human activity?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a look at opinion number 7 in your initial January 30th, 2025 report. And sir, tell me when you had a fair opportunity to locate that.
Okay.
You concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the TechStream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However, you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you? For you with regard to that. So nowhere in your May 8th, 2025 report did you include the 3-second offset that you discussed in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
Correct.
And in fact, sir, nowhere in your May 8th report do you even discuss why you're not addressing that 3-second, do you?
I do not discuss it, but it is that offset is adjusted within the adjustment that we do with the 3-point turn.
The question is, there's no discussion in your May 8th, 2025 report how or why you're not discussing that 3-second offset, correct?
Correct.
I've got a next section, Your Honor, if you would like me to move into it.
So why don't we keep going?
Okay. Event like 1162.2 does not, well, let me back up this way. You testified on direct that you're involved in accident reconstruction. That's part of the work that you do, sir?
No, that is not part of the work that I do.
Well, let me clarify then. Do you at all understand whether there's an issue as to whether a collision actually occurred in this case? Do you understand if that's an issue?
Objection.
Sustain.
Sir, do you have any understanding about what Dr. Welcher in his slide presentation was addressing in context with this case? Do you understand it?
Objection.
I'll allow a yes or no on that.
No, I do not.
So you have no idea what your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who's working on the same case, was addressing in his slide presentation?
Generally, yes, but I cannot speak to it.
What do you generally understand?
Objection.
Sustain.
What understanding do you have after reading Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it to
Do
sustain.
you have any understanding? Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, cut off the line now. Yay.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Burgess. I would like to discuss with you, and I'll start with your conclusion. And I'm going to reference your May 8th, 2025 report, sir. If you could turn to the conclusion section of your report, which is on page 7. And I'm going to start with, and I may just end with, we'll see, conclusion number 1. Please take a fair opportunity to read that. Pick your head up when you have concluded that fair reading.
Okay.
Now, that paragraph 1 states, under conclusions, you say the following can be stated to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. 1, as noted in my initial report, the only call logs that can be used to compare and synchronize the clocks between Ms. Reed's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's are those occurring between 5:21 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., which occur approximately 5 hours after the collision. You see that? Go back in your report.
Same report?
Yes, sir. Same report, May 8th. I'd like you to turn to page.
Okay.
And if you could go to the 4th paragraph, begins with 2 events near the time. And let me know, sir, when you're there. And if you read that paragraph, pick your head up after you've had a fair opportunity to read it.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, you state 2 events near the time of the collision were recorded by the Lexus system as identified by Dr. Welcher and referenced by Mr. DeSogra. The first event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-1, is associated with a 3-point turn on Cedar Crest Road. The second event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-2, is associated with a reverse maneuver on Fairview Road. These events will be referenced below for clock synchronization analysis. The timestamps associated with these 2 events are based on a combination of the Lexus infotainment power on event and TechStream time count. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
So in the same paragraph, am I correct that you're discussing a couple of TechStream events, 1162-1 and 1162-2?
Yes.
And you are talking about that TechStream event in the same paragraph as you're talking about an alleged collision, correct?
Correct. Right.
And in your paragraph of your conclusion that we were referencing, conclusion 1, is this paragraph part of the basis for that conclusion 1? Is this sort of like some predicate analysis for conclusion number 1?
No, it is not.
So it has your view, it has no relationship whatsoever to conclusion 1.
No, correct.
So let's go to your discussion of a collision and a TechStream event. Let's go back to paragraph 3. You mentioned the word collision in paragraph 3, correct?
I do not.
I'm sorry, I just had paragraph 3. I meant page 3, sir. Page 3.
Yes, page 3. Yes.
Page 3, that paragraph we were just looking at. Paragraph 4.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I do see
You
collision.
see the word, use of the word collision.
Yes,
And again, that term is used in the same paragraph as your identifying text stream event 1162.1 and 1162.2, correct?
correct.
Where did you get the basis to use the word collision at that part of your report?
That would have been from crash reports,
And whose crash reports?
the Massachusetts State Police.
So you used Massachusetts State Police reports to discuss allegations of a crash, collision.
Yes.
Do you state anywhere in your May 8th report that you used those reports at all? Do you list it in your references?
No, not in this report. No.
And as a matter of fact, this is the first time, right this previous moment, that you are mentioning those reports at all, correct?
No, those were mentioned in my initial report.
But I'm talking about your May 8th report.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Clarify this because this is the ultimate topic I want to go to. It is not your conclusion that every text stream data event means.
That is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have text stream events and they're not collisions?
Yeah.
And is in fact a text stream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with a Lexus vehicle that can cause the vehicle to register a text stream event, correct?
Correct.
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
Correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a text stream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
By itself, no.
By itself, it doesn't mean, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question. If you could rephrase.
Sure. A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases. Is that correct?
I would not call it applications and databases, no.
What would you call it?
So from various sensors or other modules on the vehicle.
Okay, so
Sure.
it's Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from various sensors and modules on the vehicle, right?
Correct.
Why don't we stop here, Mr. Lessie?
Yes.
Okay, folks, we'll take our morning recess, so it's 20 minutes.
All rise, please.
I hate the morning recess. I hate it with a passion. Because I don't know what to do. I have absolutely no idea what to do to fill the dead air. I don't think he is, Carla. Every time he gets asked a question, it's no with a caveat or yes with a caveat. Like he wants to explain everything. And unless he's just like, well, no, that's fine. I'm sure Mr. Brennan will ask you on redirect. And it is true that sometimes a question is not just yes or no. But if it's a yes or no question, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and answer yes or no. And I have found, what did we end up calling the chair when an expert was on, or the stand when an expert was on it? Remember, I came up with the theory that if an expert is on the stand, they're unable to just say yes or no. The tangent chair, is that what we named it? Instead of the witness stand, it was became the tangent chair or something like that. Because they want to tell stories and not answer yes or no. But you're a good weird, Jill. You're a good weird. You're my favorite kind of weird. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would guess Proctor as well. My mom looked like Betty White a little bit, and my mom would play dumb. I don't think she was as dumb as she played dumb. So I thought I have always, my entire life, compared people's looks to somebody on TV. Um, Even if they didn't look like exactly like them, I would say, oh, they look like so and so, or, like a little bit. And so for the longest time, I thought my mom looked like Betty White. And I kind of thought, that thought we're like, well, she kind of looks like her, but maybe not really. And um, after my mom died, I asked my dad one day, I was like, Dad, does Betty White remind you of mom? And he went, oh, yes. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that we both think that my mom looked like Betty White. Um, my mom wasn't gray, but she wanted to go blonde. And my dad didn't like the blonde. So they compromised, and she would go blonde in the summer and back to brunette in the winter. So she started going gray at an early age. So I never saw her gray. She always dyed it black, but her roots were dark. And but her blonde it was like the way Betty White was blonde in the Golden Girls, that like whitish blonde. So she would do that in the summer. Um, so after mom died, because we both loved, oh, I know, she was beautiful. I love Betty White. Um, but after my mom died, my mom and I used to watch Golden Girls together. And then after she died, I couldn't watch it without crying. I would just sit there and bawl like a baby while I watched it because she reminded me so much of my mother. And then, I gradually got to where I could watch it again. And my cousin and I, it's one of our favorite shows. And she sends me stuff. She sent me a Golden Girls coloring book one time. I've showed you guys my Shady Pines key ring. Yep, it's a good song too. So there's a diamond painting of there's several of them, but there's one with it's got like, don't remember. Like live like Blanche, love like Rose. I don't, or love like Blanche, live like, I don't remember what all it said, but it's got like a little motto for each of them. And then there's other ones where it's just the four of them together and it says, "Thank you for being a friend." They've got some really cute ones. I've not done them yet, but I want them. I One of the times I was in the hospital, because you guys know I was in and out of the hospital so much after my chemo depleted my immune system. You were a diamond painting of the Golden Girls? Um, I started watching it again in the hospital, and then I realized I'd never watched the entire series. Oh, you want a diamond painting? Okay. I was like, you were a diamond painting of what? You want a diamond painting? They're really cool looking. Um, the only thing with diamond paintings, if they have writing on them, because I got a Chihuahua one that's the same kind of a thing. Like it says, like it's got like, I think it's 4 panels of Chihuahuas, and it's like, be brave. Above it, it's like, be brave when you're afraid. I don't remember what all the sayings are, but there's like something, and then on the top, and then one on the bottom, like 4 panels. But unless you get like a huge one, you can't really make out what any writing says on any diamond painting. It has to be huge because details just don't show up that well unless it's a huge diamond painting. So, um, I don't know the Golden Girl ones. I don't know if it would, if the words on them will show up well enough unless I get a giant one. Um, so, um, but in the hospital, I watched it, realized I hadn't ever watched the whole thing. So when I got out of the hospital, I watched it from the first episode to the last. And the final episode, I didn't realize that Dorothy got married and left. I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, no way. No freaking way. After all the time she spent with him and they became family, and then she married and left them? Like, no. And then I started watching the spinoff, the one with just the three of them. I forgot the name of it. Golden Palace or something like that. And it wasn't as good. But there is a scene, you can find the clip on YouTube, that is so good. It is so, so good. It's Rose, is that because yeah, it was not the same without Dorothy. So they bought a hotel in Miami, and Rose is at the front desk, and a robber comes in, and he's got a gun, and he tells her to open the safe, and she goes, "Oh, yes, sir. You want to put your gun in the safe? Well, I don't have the combination. I'm gonna have to call the handyman that has a he. I'm gonna have to call him to come open the safe for you." And she all of this saw the guy, but she's being her ditzy self, you know. And so she's having a conversation on the phone with the handyman, and she's like, well, there's a guy here that he's checking in and he wants to put the gun in the safe. And this whole conversation with the guy, and the guy's standing there with the gun on her. And so, um, I don't remember everything that happened, but it's so funny. And then the guy gets frustrated and runs away, and then she calls the cops on him, and she's like, "No, so dumb after all." But then she had the wrong number for the cops. Such a funny scene. Um, it was good. It got canceled because it wasn't as good without Dorothy. But yeah, I love the girls. So good. Um, and it wasn't afraid to confront the hard topics. Like now we're used to shows talking about the difficult stuff. Back then, didn't shows did, but the Golden Girls did, and they made it funny without making it offensive or um preachy, I guess. There was one I remember whose friend was somebody had a friend that was a lesbian, and wrote she said, "Well, Danny Thomas is one." um I think there was another one about was there another one about I don't know, but it was I like the way they handled the difficult stuff. I loved Empty Nest. That was a spinoff from Golden Girls too. But I love what was his name? Richard Mulligan? Um he was on Soap. I used to love Soap. And Benson. Benson was a spinoff of Soap. But Richard Mulligan was so funny on Soap. Did you guys ever watch Soap? He thought he thought he could be invisible. He'd go and he'd think he was invisible. So funny. I don't know why the morning break has to be 20 minutes long. That's like twice as long court ever takes. It's like 10-minute break and that's it. Why do they have to take 20? Billy Crystal got to start on Soap. There's a lot of really good clips on YouTube of Betty White like ad libbing and uh, Dorothy and Blanche not not knowing what she was going to do, like her just riffing and them not knowing what was going to happen and not being able to keep a straight face. Those are really funny. What I'm having a hard time with now is that I'm a year older than Rue McClanahan was at the beginning of that series. I mean, she played, the character was older, but still. She was 55. I'm old. I've been saying for a while now that I'm old, though. I've come to grips with it. But to me, 55 is not old. Her character was younger than 55? Or younger than the other ones? Oh, I thought they were all supposed to be in their 60s except for Sophia. Oh, okay. Well, then my bad. See, 50s aren't golden years to me. I'm not, I know I'm old, but I'm not in my golden years yet. That's like 60s, 70s. I'm not there yet. Well, I am a retired nurse. But I retired at, what age was I? Because I retired from the hospital that I worked at, which is not like retired, like old age retired. I got my retirement from the hospital I worked at. I was in my 30s, 40s. Yeah, Estelle Getty, she was the youngest of the cast, I think. She was like makeup and wig and stuff to make her look older. She was a year younger than Dorothy. I remember I used to watch Maud with my mom too. I didn't like Maud as much though. She just seemed like a mean, bitter woman to me. But I was little then, I was a lot younger, so she just seemed like a mean, bitter woman that was yelling at her husband all the time. I didn't get the point of Maud. Didn't really like it that much. I just watched it because my mom watched it. I haven't seen that. Wouldn't you hate to have the name Rue? I never thought about that before. I wonder if that's short for something else. She was in Maud too. She played Maud's best friend. Although it may come as a shock, Zelgay, who played the sassy Sophia Petro, Bornak, is actually the second youngest Golden Girl. Are any of them still alive? They're all gone now, aren't they? Betty White was the last one. I can't believe she died so close to her 100th birthday. That was so sad. That was just weeks away when she died. Yeah, she definitely did. And she loved her husband. I don't know if that's why she never not, but he gave her way back in the. I remember when I was a little kid watching her on game shows. I can't remember his name. Like he would remember game shows last. Remember game shows for celebrities on game shows, and her husband would be like the MC or whatever they call him. Like what was it called? Password? Was it Password? Where like the celebrity, well, it was a celebrity with the word, and they would have to say words to get the person to guess the word, and then they would move the screen, and then it would be the other person's turn. StreamYard, why? Nothing's going on. Quit being extra. Stop. StreamYard, gee. Court TV, this is not a short. Definition of the word short. This is not short. They need to put court is on morning recess instead of short break. Because this is not short. Oh, Robbie, I'm so sorry. I will be praying for you, my friend. Is it a needle biopsy? I hope. What is going on? It's hard. Yeah. See, I didn't see all these because my StreamYard's doing weird, crazy stuff. Yeah, Mary Tyler Moore show. Yeah, because the spelling, she was Blanche on the Mary Tyler Moore show, and I think wasn't she supposed to be Blanche, and then decided to switch parts? Could be remembering wrong. $10,000 pyramid and match game. Yeah, I knew she was on a bunch of old game shows. I couldn't remember all the names though. Betty White and B. Arthur were 1 year older than Estelle. Rue was 10 years younger than Estelle. Oh, she was 52. I thought she was 55. Well, that's even worse. I'm just old. Rue played the Mother Superior in the 1994 TV pro shot of Nonsense and the sequel, and Vicki Lawrence was the Mother Superior in Sister Mary Amnesia's Roundup. I love Vicki Lawrence too. It's not scrolling. It's just giving me a new comment with a down arrow, and then when I go to scroll, it's like a whole giant page of comments. I loved Hollywood Squares. We're not quite boomers. I'm Gen X. Just because of the millennial, I think. Dang it, Robbie, you did not tell me that. Oh, that's right. I forgot they were on Mama's Family. That's right. They played sisters on Mama's Family. I forgot all about that. I, I wanted to meet Renee. R.I.P. He was in Benson. He was in Star Trek. He was in um, Warehouse 13. He seemed like a very, very nice man. Except he hated his prosthetics on Deep Space Nine. But who could blame him? He did a great job, though. Very professional. His very, very last day of shooting Deep Space Nine. Dang, I forgot the producer's name. Shoot, what's his name? Dang it. Anyway, very last day, he peeled his face off and handed it to him. And now the producer had it in like a display box in his living room.
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
Oh, that's right. You keep forgetting Jill's younger than me. We have so much in common.
All right, Mr. Lessie, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burgess. I'm going to pick up, sir, where we left off. A text stream trigger event does not automatically mean there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't, without more, mean an airbag deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean, without more, that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
Correct.
A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases, correct?
Sensors and other modules.
That's right.
on the vehicle.
You
Correct.
said that earlier, sir. Sensors and modules. You reviewed the raw text stream trigger events on Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
No.
Do you understand whether, do you have an understanding whether Mr. DeSogra reviewed those events in his March 5, 2025 report?
I do not.
So you did not review the raw data for text stream trigger events on Ms. Reed's vehicle, and you did not therefore perform any analysis of that data as you sit here today, correct?
Correct. Outside of what Dr. Welcher provided.
Are you aware that there were approximately 30 text stream trigger events in an 8-month period on Ms. Reed's vehicle?
No, I'm not.
Assume the data shows that in the mere 8-month period that Ms. Reed owned her vehicle, the Lexus in question, there were 30 text stream trigger events. Assume that. You would not conclude that there were 30 collisions in that 8-month period, would you?
No, I would not.
Would you agree, sir, that there were actually 2 triggers on January 29th?
Yes.
And the first trigger that you referred to of 1162-1, that was not a collision, was it, sir?
Without reviewing the data, I don't know.
Well, as you sit here today, you have no basis to state that the 1162-1 trigger was a collision, do you?
No, I do not.
And in fact, didn't you refer to that as a 3-point turn?
I did, yes.
And you didn't mention in your direct testimony when you talked about the 3-point turn anything about a collision, did you?
No, I did not.
And as you sit here today, there's no fact or data that you have to conclude that there was any supposed collision associated with that 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event, correct?
Correct.
A trigger event can occur on a Lexus vehicle by a whole host of possibilities, correct?
Correct.
You could maybe slam on the brakes and cause a trigger event.
That is one possibility.
You could have just unusual driving. You could be going at a speed or doing something else that has nothing at all to do with a collision, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, there are almost countless events that can occur that can cause a trigger event in a Lexus vehicle.
So I don't know the exact count of what type of triggers there are, but yes, there are
There are
a
many.
number. Yes.
So back to the 1162-1 three-point turn trigger event. On your direct examination, you just referred to event surrounding that as a three-point turn, correct?
Correct.
And yet that three-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, none of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself. no.
Not by itself.
Correct.
And it doesn't occur that none of the information in that black box indicates that there was a collision on any day without more, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to now turn to a different topic, sir. In your direct examination, you referenced a Ms. Maggie Gaffney. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And wasn't part of your reference to her a criticism of her for some of the work that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
And for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip off, right?
So, sure. So I did criticize for not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it. Yes.
And on direct, you will, your bits bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip. So you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair characterization?
No, it is not.
Did you at all try to use as a justification for your misunderstanding of bits and bytes that it was her work?
Her word? you
Her
say?
work.
Her work.
Yes, her work.
So it was the overlooking of the SD card. Yes.
Right. So you did try to lay at her footsteps part of the reason why you misinterpreted the bits and bytes that we discussed yesterday. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay. So you would agree then that the bits and bytes misinterpretation that you and I discussed yesterday had nothing to do with the work of Miss Gaffney, correct?
So in part, but that was my mistake. Yes.
All right. I'm trying to understand which is it. Is it Miss Gaffney's work had some part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, or her work had no part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes?
Some part.
So you do attempt to lay some blame on Miss Gaffney for your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, correct?
No, I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Okay. In your January 30, 2025 report, are you consistent with your criticism of Miss Gaffney?
As I recall, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
In fact, you yourself provided the explanation for why the micro SD card was not extracted during the original chip-off, didn't you?
Yes, that it was overlooked.
Right.
Yes.
So if you could please turn to page 5 of your January 30, 2025 report.
Okay.
And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed with questions.
Okay.
So you do attribute to Ms. Gaffney in your report some responsibility for this micro SD card not being extracted during the original chip-off. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go to page 5 of your report, sir. And bear with me, I want to get you the exact location. I don't have it exactly, but I want to quote it. Your Honor, may I have a moment to get the exact quote?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now have it. Mr. Burgess, if you could turn to page 5, as I was referencing, and go to the third full paragraph. If you could look about 2/3 of the way down the far right, you see the word where it starts with at. It's the paragraph beginning when examining vehicle
Yes,
systems.
I
You see
do.
that,
Yes,
sir?
I see it.
And do you see the at that is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and Burla is what? Can you read?
Burla is a company that offers and develops forensic hardware and software for vehicle modules.
Right. So at the time of the incident, Burla did not offer support for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software indicating similar modules are supported via in-vehicle acquisition. According to Burla, currently, there are 2 known and documented modules within the vehicle that have the capability to store data. The infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So as you stated, Burla is the organization that you described, which for the purpose you did, I'm not going to repeat it on direct examination. If I could sort of put in layman's terms and see, you tell me if this is correct. Burla produces hardware and software to make it easier for non-technical people, as you put it, to extract data from a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You describe in your January 30, 2025 report that at the time of the initial chip-off, Burla did not provide support for the information contained on the micro SD card, correct?
No, so I think you're misreading that last sentence, and I can clarify.
Can you read the last sentence, sir?
I can. So the infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney.
So my question is, did or did not Burla, at the time of the initial chip-off by Ms. Gaffney, provide the technical support to address the information contained on the micro SD card?
No, Burla did not and does not.
Good. That I wanted to.
That was my identifier
Right,
of the micro SD
understood.
card. Correct.
So it was not until after the initial chip off that Ms. Gaffney participated in that Burla updated their software to be able to identify the types of data, for Burla software to be able to identify the types of data contained within the micro SD card on the Lexus circuit board. Is that correct?
No, that's incorrect.
So Burla didn't do anything new after the initial chip off with its software?
Sure. So Burla released new software after the initial chip off that addresses being able to download software via the infotainment module while it's in the vehicle. So that involves plugging a USB in to the vehicle and downloading data. That does not address the micro SD card on the circuit board itself.
And Ms. Gaffney did not have, at the time of the initial chip off, that updated Burla software, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your questioning. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor, but I have a bit to pack up, so Mr. Brennan can have a clear podium.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you know what a sequestration order is?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
So it would be an order to not view any testimony of a trial, is my general understanding.
Does that mean that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
Do you understand whether or not you can speak to attorneys about testimony? Is that precluded as well?
I'm not aware either way.
Has anybody ever spoken to you about any testimony about that occurred in this trial before you testified?
No, they have not.
Have I ever discussed, intimated, or suggested any information whatsoever to you about arguments, testimony, or anything about this case as it's ongoing?
No, you have not.
Do you follow the rules, sir?
Yes, I do.
Have you followed them in this case?
Yes, I have.
When you gave your opinions and you've testified, do you have any information or knowledge about this trial as it actually occurred until the point when you testified?
No, I do not.
You were asked some questions about your CV. A CV is a resume?
Yes, it is.
and you were asked about a LinkedIn account.
Yes, I was.
Is your LinkedIn account different than your CV?
Yes, it is.
And in this case, when did you learn that your LinkedIn account was wrong or had not been updated? When was the first time you learned that?
That was yesterday.
When you started your LinkedIn account, do you remember when it was you set it up?
It would have been maybe 10 years ago or more.
Do you routinely update your LinkedIn account?
No, I do not.
When you were asked for education or ongoing,
Particularly remember filling it out, but obviously I did at some point.
when you were asked about Aperture's website, how many experts are associated with Aperture?
I could give you a rough number between 80 and 100,
How many offices?
15 or so.
Are you website design or content?
No, I'm not.
You know Aperture, the information from their website, from LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Did you ever weigh in or develop your information that was on Aperture's website?
No, not on the website.
You do provide CVs before you come to court, don't you?
Yes, I do.
In this case, you were asked by the defense, when you provide your CV, do you understand that it's going to be reviewed by whoever requests it, the Commonwealth of the defense,
Yes, I do.
and that it will be shared with both sides in the court?
Yes.
In fact, the first time you provided a CV in this case, was it October 11, 2014?
Objection, Your Honor.
So the leading nature sustained.
Do you remember the first time you provided a CV in this case?
It would have been around October
Of what year?
of 2024. Sorry.
And when you provided that, was it as an exhibit to something?
Yes, if I recall, it was as an exhibit to the initial protocol that I sent out.
And when you submitted that CV, did you appreciate whether or not it would be part of a court filing in public?
Yes, I did.
I could have exhibit 183, please. (183). You could enlarge the top section. Right there is good. And sir, when you provided this CV to be filed with the court and made public, did you indicate that you had obtained a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Why did you put currently pursuing?
Because I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree.
And did you understand your CV was received by the defense and they knew this?
Yes, I do understand that.
Subsequently, you were asked to provide an updated CV in April 2025.
Yes, I was.
Did you do that?
I did.
Can we have exhibit 184? Did you further appreciate this would be provided to both the court and the defense?
Yes, I did.
Did you represent to the defense that your education included earning a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
You've testified in, you can take that down, please. You've testified in many other cases
I have. Yes.
in courts around the country.
Yes, I have.
And when you've testified in other courts around the country, do you know whether there are transcripts of your actual testimony?
Yes, I believe there are.
Have you ever represented in any court that you achieved your bachelor's degree?
No, I have not.
Have you ever inflated your qualifications in a court?
No, I have not.
When I asked you about some of your background, you told us that you had certificates in Celebrite and Axiom. I didn't go through all of the qualifications and all of the accomplishments you had, did I?
No, you did not.
Do you have professional certifications, GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensic Analysis?
Yes, I do.
Do you have professional certification from CCME, Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner?
Sustained.
Do you have professional certifications as a magnet certified forensic examiner?
Sustained for the same reason.
I'm sorry?
Sustained for the same reason.
Do you have a number of certificates that I did not ask you about?
Yes, you do. I
Can you
do,
share
yes.
some of those with us?
Sure. So one of those is going to be GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensics. So that's going to be Global Information Assurance certification. And that is basically a 40-hour class or 48-hour class with a test at the end to get that certification. There's also a Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner certification that is specifically to, kind of.
Okay, what the heck? Did Brennan not ask him about his education in order to set up the defense? To have the defense say, oh, but you don't have this education because your CV says you have it, but you don't have it. But they had the quote unquote updated CV the whole time. What the heck is happening here? I still say it doesn't matter because they caught him in a lie. You don't put a graduation date down if you never graduated. Like, he's got a graduation date down. It's still a lie. So it doesn't matter.
Demonstrate your knowledge of the Celebrite software, as well as magnet forensics certifications, again, for their software specifically.
Certifications regarding computer hacking?
What was that last part? Sorry.
Any certifications regarding computer hacking?
No, not currently.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
What do you have for certificates in that arena?
So those certifications would be crash data retrieval technician and crash data retrieval analyst. So those courses would be around acquiring and analyzing from airbag control modules. Yes, I do.
Of classes and certification?
Yeah. Yes, that's of classes and classes and seminars or conferences specifically.
Bachelor's degree to be competent and achieve in this area?
No, I do not.
Is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite in a particular field?
No, it is not.
You ever heard of Bill Gates,
Yes.
Stephen Jobs,
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey?
Sustained.
Oprah Winfrey, what the heck?
You had become engaged in this case in October 2024?
Correct.
And when you first became engaged, you had a chance to look at photographs and some data?
Yes, I did.
At that point, you hadn't had a chance. Did you have had you had a chance to actually inspect any of the physical property?
No, I had not.
Did you have an understanding that somebody else did?
Yes, I did.
Who?
Miss Gaffney and a number of other people with the MSP.
Attended some type of procedure?
Correct.
And do you know who led the actual procedure?
As far as I'm aware, it would have been Miss Gaffney.
The defense expert?
Correct.
You filed a protocol. What was the purpose in October when you first got involved in filing a protocol?
Sure. So the first purpose of the protocol was just to address the fact that we were missing data that we expected, and address a potential solution to gather more data.
Without having looked at the physical property, the actual boards, how did you conclude simply on data and photographs that there was missing data?
Sure. So that would be reviewing the initial data that was provided, and not seeing user data like I would expect. And that's because there's a number of different chips that are on a circuit board for an infotainment or a telematics or any other module. And there's a number of different data bearing chips. The purpose of those chips will vary. Some chips' main purpose is to store user data. Some chips' main purpose is to store software or firmware. So if you're gathering, acquiring data from chips that only have software and firmware, then you would not expect or you would not see user data within those chips.
When you made that analysis and concluded that there was missing data, had there been any report provided by Ms. Gaffney suggesting there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Had there been any analysis or opinion alerting that there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Was there anything to indicate that the person who did this test missed data at that point?
No, not at that point.
When you decided to write a protocol so you could actually look at the boards and do an analysis, did you put that protocol in writing?
Yes, I did.
And do you remember if that was around October 10th, 2024?
That sounds familiar. Yes.
Now, when you were cross-examined, the attorney asked you if you knew what the word mendacity meant. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you didn't know. Do you now know that means to lie or be untruthful?
Sustained.
He didn't ask you a question. He just asked you if you knew what the word was. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember he also, on cross-examination, suggested that when you had your mistake about megabytes, megabits, it was the defense expert that alerted you to that mistake? Do you remember that suggestion by the defense?
Yes, I do.
Did they ever show you the documents so you could see the chronology?
No, they did not.
Did you then write another report, a supplemental protocol?
Yes. So I did write that initial protocol and then a supplemental protocol.
Was that on October 17th, 2024?
That sounds about right.
When you wrote that a week later, at that point, had you realized your mistake?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Why did you?
Can we approach, please?
Okay.
Understood. Why they need to approach. Okay, so I'm assuming that Steve Jobs and who else did he say? Bill Gates. Don't have bachelor's degree? Invent the internet though?
When you realized your error, what did you do?
So I intended to correct it with a supplemental protocol.
When you corrected it with the supplemental protocol, do you remember what day it was?
Not specifically, not.
If I showed you your report, would that help your memory?
But
May I approach? Ask you a question.
yes, it does.
When did you correct your error with the supplemental protocol?
That was on October 17th, 2024.
Okay. And do you remember the date that you first received any information from Mr. DeSorga?
No, I do not
Do you
specifically.
remember the date when Mr. DeSorga's information was first filed?
No, I do not.
Your October 17th supplementary report.
Not specifically, but I believe it was after.
And so when it was suggested that you had to be schooled or advised by Mr. DeSorga, was that accurate?
Objection, Your Honor.
Word it differently. Word it differently.
You weren't aware until someone advised you of your error. When you realized there was an error and you put it in a report, were you ever
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me? I had to shut down the stream, Court TV stream. To get StreamYard to come back up. And now I can't get. Okay, I don't know what my computer's doing right now. Gosh darn it. Ah, it's doing that thing again where my scroll button isn't scrolling, it's changing the size. Quick, somebody tell me how to fix it, because I forgot. No, Flash, it's Tuesday. Dang it. I need somebody to tell me how to fix it. I guess I'm going to Google it. No, everybody's still here. I just need help because I can't get my computer won't. I hate when this happens. I know I should know how to work my dang computer. If I'm going to do this, I need to learn how to do it. But I don't know how to do that. That doesn't help me. They're going to split if I don't figure it out. Oh, I fixed it. I fixed it. Okay, I fixed it. Did I fix it? No, I didn't fix it. Oh, I fixed it. Just everything's teeny tiny now. Well, crud.
Process would have to be used.
Sure. So best practice for vehicle forensics is if the module or a vehicle is not supported by a forensic tool, would be to remove that module, or let me start over, manually document the screen, but then also go or SD cards that may hold data and acquiring that data.
Is that called a chip-off process?
It is called a chip-off process.
Does it describe the process well? Chip-off?
Yes, it does.
Since Ms. Gaffney did the original analysis and did that chip-off, has the software updated?
Yes.
Is that the Burla software?
No, I'm sorry.
But has the Burla software itself updated?
So the Burla software itself has updated, but it is limited to again, plugging in a USB into the infotainment module while it's in the car running.
Does the updates in Burla software have anything to do with the SD card?
No, it does not.
Why not?
Because again, they're going a different route to acquire data, and they are acquiring a limited amount of data through what's called diagnostic logs. So if you think of diagnostic logs, your radio unit is keeping logs of any time things happen on the radio for manufacturer purposes. So Burla is taking those logs and they can interpret some of those logs. They are not acquiring all the data that is on the SD card itself.
You have drafted a number of reports in this case.
I have, yes.
Regarding the chip-off process, did Ms. Gaffney ever write a report?
No, not that I'm aware of.
When you wrote reports in this case, do you expect for them to be shared?
Yes, I do.
When other experts, like, for example, Mr. DeSorga writes a report, do you expect to have a copy and review it?
Yes.
Sustained.
What is the standard practice when there are reports from different experts regarding the same subject matter?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is there a standard practice
Sure.
regarding reviewing reports from similar experts in similar subject matter?
Sure. So anytime a report is written by an expert, that report would be provided and shared with opposing experts.
Reports, do they always come at the same time in a case?
No, they do not.
When you wrote your reports, how would you provide them so they could be disseminated?
Sure. So that I would typically provide them to the client or the attorney that hired me, and then that would be disseminated from there.
Did you have an opportunity to receive Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025 PowerPoint?
Yes, I did.
Were you provided that by me, the Commonwealth?
Yes, I was.
And were you asked or given any direction on what you could or should do?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to reach any particular result?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to avoid anything?
No, I was not.
What did you see your role as when you receive a report from another expert like Mr. DeSorga?
Sure. So when I receive a report, I would typically review it and then make a decision issues in that report through testimony or address those with us.
Follow your own discretion, or did you ever receive any direction on what you should and shouldn't do regarding considering Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, I did not.
When you looked at Mr. DeSorga's report, did you have concerns about his report?
I did, yes.
I want to talk about his report in detail. Before we get there, share with us what your general concerns were about Mr. DeSorga's report when you reviewed the whole report.
Sure. So what Mr. DeSorga does is take a couple different adjustment methods to attempt to adjust the clock from the Lexus with the iPhone. But what he does is takes a lot of methods or data points that are not applicable to the time that we're interested in.
What do you mean? Can you explain with a little more specificity what he does?
Sure. So if you think about it, your clock is constantly, changing as far as it syncs up with other GPS satellites or network time servers, and it's updating constantly. So a clock variance between two devices may be different in a day. So best practice is to choose an event that is nearest to your time in question, so you have the most appropriate adjustment for that clock variance.
Mr. DeSorga's analysis, did he choose the event most closely tied to the backing up event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The backing up event, are you familiar with that time frame?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Was Mr. DeSorga's analysis based on information most closely related to that event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What information did Mr. DeSorga choose to use for that analysis relative to the backing up event?
Sure. So he chose a couple things. That's going to be call logs that happened on both devices or that was recorded on both devices, as well as a GPS data point, which was incorrectly identified as being near that or encompassing that 3-point turn. So what we did is did a more thorough analysis of that 3-point turn event when it occurred within the iPhone data, and then compared that and adjusted with the Lexus.
Explain to us your concern about using call logs.
Sure. So there's a number of call logs that you saw earlier that were recorded by the phone and the Lexus. The one thing you'll notice, and it's hard to kind of go back to it without the graph, but the calls that happened between 1 and 5 o'clock that morning actually happened when the car was powered off. We know that based on the power on and power off events. So those timestamps that are recorded with that 2-second and 1-second offset is actually from Mrs. Reed's iPhone as she gets back in the vehicle and her phone connects up and syncs back up. So the 8-second and the 16 or 21-second offset are the only offsets that we have to compare to calls.
Was that a concern?
It was a concern.
Why?
Because if you're using the 1 and 2-second offsets, that could be misleading because it's not actually comparing the Lexus clock with the iPhone clock from Mr. O'Keefe.
What's it doing?
It's comparing the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock with Mrs. Reed's iPhone clock.
What other concerns?
Sure. So the other concern was a GPS point known as GPS 154, which if you remember yesterday, we talked about a little bit. So that was misidentified as being the end or towards the end of that 3-point turn. But when we look closer at all the location data, we can see that that actually occurs between 12:23:59 and I believe it was 12:24:07.
Let me ask you some questions about what compelled you to look at the 3-point turn and synchronize the clocks. Were you aware of Mr. Whiffin's report where he offered that the last user interaction on Mr. Whiffin's phone was 12:32:09?
Objection.
No. You were asked, did you consider Mr. Whiffin's report where there was a last user interaction of 12:32:09 by the user?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
You were asked if you considered that. Did you know that information?
I did know that information was available and existed, but I did not use that in my analysis for the clock synchronization.
Did that have any part of your motivation to do the clock synchronization?
No, it did not.
Were you attempting to match the synchronization with any of this other information that exists in data?
No, I was not.
You were also asked if you were aware of Mr. O'Keefe's phone that at 12:32:16, it ended its movement.
Yes, I was aware of that. Yes.
Did that in any way affect your interest or your decision to synchronize the clocks?
No, it did not. So my primary focus and to adjust the clocks was because I thought the PowerPoint slides by Mr. DeSogra were misleading.
When you were shown Exhibit 190, can we have 190, please? You were shown this chart. Was this the entirety of Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, it was not.
Was there text information offered by Mr. DeSorga to give his position or explanation of this?
Yes, there was.
Is that included in this exhibit?
No, it's not.
Did you get a chance to read Mr. DeSorga's report, including the actual text explaining his analysis and process leading to this chart?
Yes, I was.
Did you look at Mr. DeSorga's entire report?
Yes, I did.
I move to introduce Mr. DeSorga's report.
Okay. So this was triple D for identification. That would be the next exhibit.
21.
You said as a result of Mr. DeSorga's report, you were concerned, so that compelled you to do your analysis that resulted in your May 8th report.
Correct.
I want you to take us through Mr. DeSorga's report and explain to the jury what concerned you about his analysis.
Sure.
With the court's permission, I'd like to put this page 1 of this report.
I fixed it, Carla. No, if you push on the scroll button,
Is this the front cover of Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
Turn to page 2, please.
and I keep doing that and it gets stuck on that.
What do you recognize this slide or photograph coming from?
Then it won't scroll.
Sure. So this slide is coming from Dr. Welcher's overall PowerPoint slides.
When you first saw this slide, where did you first see, what source did you first see this through?
Through Mr. DeSogra's PowerPoint.
Well, Dr. Welcher works at Aperture, doesn't he?
He does, yes.
Did you know he was working on this case?
Yes, I did.
Was he providing you his PowerPoint or slides before this point?
No, he was not.
When you first saw this slide, did you see information about the timing of the tech stream event, which was the backing maneuver?
Yes, I did.
And what time did that show?
Can we blow it up just so I don't get the time
Please.
wrong?
Wait a minute. This is DeSogra and he's
Up, please. I'm sorry. Up. Here
and
we
they
go.
both work.
Thank
for
you, Ms. Gilman.
Aperture?
Sure. So that's got the tech stream event ending at 12:31:43.
These tech stream events that are captured, do you know how long of the event is captured? How many seconds?
Yes. So approximately 5 seconds before the trigger threshold is met and 5 seconds after.
When this information that you reviewed in Mr. DeSorga's report, do you know what clock is used to identify the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43?
Yes, I do.
And what clock is that?
So that's a combination of the Lexus clock that's coming from the infotainment center, as well as the running timer that we discussed yesterday. That's coming from the airbag module itself.
Is the source of that time important?
Yes, it is.
If you compare time from a different clock with time from a different clock and don't synchronize the two, does that lead you to an accurate result?
No, it does not.
When you were answering questions, you repeatedly were saying, according to the Lexus clock. Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly? One moment, please.
Sure.
Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly?
Sure. So to make sure that the jury understood that that timestamp was coming from the Lexus itself and was not an adjusted timestamp to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Could you scroll down, please, Ms. Gilman? Up a little bit, please. Thank you. The 3209, what did you understand that information to be?
Sure. So that is information understood to be the last device lock recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And what clock did you understand that time came from?
That would come from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock.
If you reconciled his iPhone clock information, or if you compared it without reconciling to the Lexus information, what's the danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor. Sustained.
Is there any danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to allow that.
Is there any danger in comparing two times if you don't consider the clocks that they came from?
Yes, there is. So you could essentially be, in inaccurate time for when that event actually occurred.
If you could just scroll down to the bottom so we could see the rest of that. You mentioned the word variance yesterday during your direct examination. I'm going to ask you to look at that box that has the green around it. Is that an example of variance?
Yes, that is an example of variance between, well, so no. So I take that back. That is not an example of variance itself. That is an example of comparing the end of the text stream event to the device lock event.
Is that attempting to compare two different devices?
So that's attempting to, that's not attempting to compare anything. It's just stating that the time between the device event lock and the end of the text stream event, unadjusted, is approximately 26 seconds.
Is that accounting for synchronization or not accounting for synchronization?
That is not accounting, that is not with synchronization.
Can we turn to the next page, please? Did you review the next page of Mr. DeSorga's report?
Yes, I did.
And did it lead you to any concerns?
This page specifically, yes and no. So this page again is just showing the time difference between the end of the text stream event and Mr. O'Keefe's last device lock event.
Is this another way of showing the information that was in that green box?
It is. It's another way of showing the information in that green box, but it is not a clock variance or an adjustment.
Could you turn the page, please? When you read this page, is this a opinion or conclusion?
No, it does not.
What is it?
So this is just pointing out that when the 26-second window, which they'll refer as John's interaction window, when that number is positive, then the phone interaction occurs after the end of the text stream event. When that number is negative, the phone interaction occurs before the end of the text stream event ends.
Did you have any issue with that slide?
No, not that slide in particular.
If we turn to the next page. Did you have an opportunity to review the next page?
Yes, I did.
And were you in agreement with this page?
I was in agreement with this page, yes.
And what does this tell us?
So this page points out that two clocks are not always in sync. So again, to synchronize those clocks, you would have to have a shared event that occurred on both devices.
If we could have the next page, please. Any chance to make that a tiny bit bigger, Ms. Gilman? Were you in agreement with this page?
No, I was not.
Tell us what concerned you about this page.
Sure. So this page is potentially misleading to the jury again by using,
Strike that.
Just tell me what your concerns were.
Sure. So my concerns with this, that it was potentially misleading to the jury.
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
No, I'm going to allow that. That's his concerns.
You just
Sure. So that this slide was potentially misleading to the jury because it uses incorrect adjustments to try and adjust the times.
How does it use incorrect adjustments? Explain that to us so it's very basic, please.
Sure. So as we kind of go through the next few slides, you'll see. But essentially what they're doing is, or what is being done, is they're comparing call logs, timestamps from call logs from when the phone was off, suggesting that, again, that the lock event occurs after the end of the text stream event, as well as incorrectly identifying the GPS point when the three-point turn ends.
Would you better be able to explain that to us with the further slides that come next?
Yes, I believe so.
If we could turn to the next page, please. Okay. Is this just a label of what's to come?
It is.
And can we turn to the next page, please? If we could start, Ms. Gilman, with the top left-hand box, if you could enlarge that for us. Did you review this information in this box?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And before we get to your opinions, what does this information tell you?
Sure. So this is a snapshot from my initial report where I point out that the ignition on happens approximately 3 seconds before the infotainment power on event. So you can see that. I think we're up a little too high on the page.
Like,
Yeah. So highlighted in the red, that's based on our testing where we identified that the ignition on, or your finger on the ignition pressing it, and the engine coming on and the vehicle coming on happens 3 seconds before the infotainment system powers on.
You were asked on cross-examination about that 3 seconds between the pressing the button and the infotainment system going on, but you weren't allowed to answer the question whether you considered it or why that was important. So I'm going to give you that opportunity now.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Ask the question, please.
Okay. Is there significance to that 3 seconds, and did you consider it in your report, in your findings?
Yes, I did.
Share with us.
Sure. So when we make our adjustments based on the event, so in this case, the 3-point turn, what we're looking at is the approximate time frame when that 3-point turn occurred via Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. And then we're adjusting that for the approximate time that the tech stream event and that 3-point turn ends. So as we sync those clocks, we're adjusting not only for the difference in the clocks, but we're also adjusting for this 3-second delay.
Did you accommodate that 3-second delay in your analysis and your conclusions?
Yes, that was included in my analysis.
Now back to the screen. The information there, is that text taken from your actual report?
Yes, it is.
Could we shrink the screen, please? And then the photograph in the bottom left, if we could enlarge that, is that as well from your report?
Yes, that is also from my report.
Did we look at that yesterday on your direct examination?
Yes, I believe so.
And briefly tell us what that depicts?
Sure. So that's during our exemplar testing, where again, we've got it rigged with cameras that are recording video and timestamps of interactions we're having with the vehicle, which include powering it on and powering it off.
If you could shrink the screen, and we'll go to the right, Ms. Gilman. What was the import of this screen to you in its entirety?
Sure. So this is not actually a valid way to adjust or synchronize clocks because, again, we're not adjusting based on a shared event. So the ignition on event occurs. It is not recorded by Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. But again, we are adjusting and including this in our timestamp.
About the process of synchronization through phone calls or through the 3-point turn data.
Yes, that's correct.
Why did you choose to use the 3-point turn data instead of phone calls?
Sure. So I chose to use the 3-point turn data because it was closer in time to the event that was of interest, as well as it was based not only on the infotainment clock, but it was also based on that running timer. So once we adjust that first event to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, the second event is also based on that running timer, so it would also be adjusted.
Did you have any concerns about using phone calls specifically?
Yes, I did.
And what were they and why?
Sure. So those concerns were related to the phone calls that we could actually compare, and again, some of the phone calls that happened earlier or closer to the event of interest were not actually recorded by the infotainment system itself.
Why is it important to take an event closest to the time of the event you're studying?
Sure. So like I kind of said before, clock variance will change between devices as they are constantly syncing back up with reference systems. So a clock difference that you see at 1 o'clock in the day is not going to be the same as you would see at 2 o'clock in the day.
When you chose the 3-point turn, how close to the backing up event was that in time?
I believe it was within 10 minutes or so.
Was that closer in time or further away in time than the phone calls as a method?
That was closer in time than the phone calls. If you think back to the phone calls that we could have compared, those occurred at 5 o'clock in the morning.
We turn to the next page, please. Did you have a chance to review this slide of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now you see on the left is a box. Where's that box taken from?
Sure. So that box on the left is taken from my report. That's going to be my initial report.
January 30th, 2025?
That's correct.
Okay. And share with us what you were trying to express in this box.
Sure. So again, this box is
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
Sure.
apologize. Ms. Gilman, is there any chance we could enlarge the box on the left? My apologies. Okay, please proceed.
Sure. So this is a comparison of the calls. So the infotainment call timestamps are on the furthest left column. So again, your infotainment system, when you plug your phone in, is recording and synchronizing your calls. It's not great about recording and synchronizing every call. So there's a lot of calls here that we don't have that we know exist based on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So the calls that we do have that were recorded in the infotainment system, we can compare to the timestamps that those are recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So when we do that, there's a couple things we notice is during that 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 4:45 time frame, when we look back at the power on and off events, we know the vehicle was not powered on at that time. So the vehicle's off. So those timestamps are not coming from the vehicle. They're coming from Mrs. Reed's iPhone or the defendant's iPhone. And then the times after 5:21, we know the vehicle has been powered up at that point. So those timestamps are coming from the infotainment system itself. So that's why we can actually do a comparison of those timestamps and determine the exact or the approximate clock variance.
When you look at the call timestamps of 1:14:13, 4:38:16, at 4:42:06 and 4:45:12, was the power on or off with the car during those four first calls?
Yeah, so with those first 5 calls, the car was powered off. And again, we know that based on the power on and off event. We also know that just by looking at the offset, it's a consistent 1 or 2 seconds. And that's what we typically expect and see between 2 iPhones. That's because iPhones are generally pinging back to Apple servers or GPS towers that are the same. So those times are pretty consistent and pretty accurate.
Was the power on by 5:04:28?
No, not at 5:04:28. It was still powered off.
So those first five events, were they reliable for you to use in synchronization?
No, they were not.
You gave us a number of reasons. One, the time distance between the event and because they were phone to phone. Any other reasons why they weren't?
I'll strike the first part, ask the question.
Besides the reasons you already gave us, are there any other reasons why this would not be a reliable way to synchronize 2 separate devices?
Not besides the points I've made already.
Okay. And if we could zoom back on this. The box on the right, is that from your report? Is that Mr. DeSorga?
That's Mr. DeSogra.
Was there anything about that analysis that concerned you?
Sure. So that analysis is misleading because, again, it's not comparing Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to the infotainment system. It's actually comparing the defendant's iPhone to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Is there any acknowledgement anywhere in Mr. DeSorga's report that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone rather than iPhone to infotainment?
No, there's not.
Did you ever receive any report from Mr. DeSorga that would alert that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone and not iPhone to infotainment?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
If we could go to the next slide, please. Is this a similar or different slide?
Sure. So this is a different slide.
Okay. If we can zoom in on the left box, please. Where does that box come from?
Sure. So again, that's coming from the same page of my report, just highlighting the 5:30 phone call. And this is comparing the iPhone from Mr. O'Keefe with the infotainment clock.
At that point, is the power on of the Lexus?
Yes, so at this point, the power is on. So this is a, comparison of the infotainment clock with the iPhone clock at that time.
Could you zoom out? That final box that shows the comparison between the defendant's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone, do you have any concerns about the accuracy of that information for that time?
No, so I think those times are accurate. But again, that's at 5 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to adjust the clock variance. And it's too far away from the time in question. So if we zoom back in to the box, we can actually see in the data what I'm talking about as far as clock variance will change, with time. So the phone call at 5:21, we see an offset of around 8 seconds between the two devices, between the infotainment system and the iPhone. And then at 5:30, which is only 9 minutes later, we can see that offset has actually increased between 16 and 21.
In capturing this data, were there phone calls between the infotainment system and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, those last two phone calls were between the infotainment system, or were recorded by the infotainment system with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
How does that happen?
Sure. So that's, when the device is connected up to the vehicle and you make a phone call, the call is recorded within the infotainment system and it's recorded with the infotainment system's timestamp.
Could you focus on the right-hand box, please? Could we enlarge this? Do you know where this photograph came from?
Yes. So this screenshot came from Dr. Welcher's presentation.
When's the first time you saw this screen?
When I saw this presentation.
In Mr. DeSorga's report?
Correct. Yes.
Had you seen this before that?
I had not seen.
If we could focus in a little more, especially the bottom left hand. When you reviewed this, did you feel any need to do further testing?
Yes, I did.
Why?
So what we're looking at, if we zoom back out, so what that is the 12:23:38 is the approximate time that the text stream event occurred. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to compare that to the 3-point turn from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. What you'll notice, though, is right here, we've got a circled GPS point. So if we can zoom in there. So this circle here is actually circled GPS point 155, which is after this point, but we'll kind of ignore that. But GPS 154 and it's hard to see the time is 12:23:58. When we look at that, what we see is that actually that GPS position is recorded before the 3-point turn even starts.
You mentioned 154 begins recording before the 3-point turn starts.
Correct.
Is the end time of the 3-point turn a time before or after that 12:23:58?
Sure. So the end of the 3-point turn logically would be after this point.
At the time you saw the slide, had you broken down 0.154?
No, not at the time that I saw this slide.
Could you zoom back out a little bit, please? The information in the right box, is that from you or from Mr. DeSorga?
That is not from me.
And when you read that, did that compel you to want to do anything?
Yes, it did. So again, my initial thought was to address this during testimony. With further review and further thought, I decided it was best to offer a supplemental report. What this is, basically the math I agree with. The point I don't agree with is that GPS 154 is the time towards the end of the 3-point turn. And now reviewing further data, we know that's not true.
The 12:23:58 event on the phone, is that related to the first event, the 3-point turn, or the second event, the backing maneuver?
So that's going to be related to the first event, the 3-point turn.
Was there any other data that was closer in time to the to the backing event that you had access to?
No, not that we had access to.
We turn to the next slide, please. You've seen this part of the report before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Having seen the earlier part of the report, does it help you explain and understand this diagram?
Yes, it does.
Is this your diagram or Mr. DeSorga's?
This is Mr. DeSogris.
Do you agree with this diagram?
No, I do not.
Okay. Could you explain to us what this, from your perspective, from your experience, what this chart is trying to suggest?
Sure. So this chart is trying to suggest that the lock event always occurs after the end of the text stream event. And again, that's using inaccurate adjustments to make that conclusion.
I want you to use the pointer and I want you to take us line by line why you believe that this is inaccurate in trying to conclude the time of those locking adjustments.
Sure. So it's kind of hard to tell. So what we've got is we've actually got two different sections. So we've got the top section, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 events. So that's going to be the GPS event, and those. Let's see. No, that's going to be this. It's hard.
This doesn't seem fair to me because they've not even heard from the defense expert yet they're seeing his PowerPoint things. And now the state's expert is telling them before they even hear from the defense expert that he's wrong. So now when their expert gets on the stand, they're going to automatically think, well, this is the guy whose calculations or whatever was wrong. And then he's going to have to explain, on the other hand, why he was right. It's going to be confusing. Do you guys think that's going to be confusing to the jury? I think that would confuse me if I was on the jury.
Hard to say. That's going to be the phone calls and the GPS event that are calculated in this. And it's all delay as well adjusted. But what we see is, so this obviously +1 is one of the phone calls that was from the defendant's iPhone time. So not from the infotainment system. So that's a inaccurate comparison. Same thing for the +2, the +1, the +2 again, the +8, the +16, and the +20 are going to be those last two calls. If you'll notice, the very last call, we can't really tell which phone call is the correct one to compare. So we're using both within that same time frame. And that's why we get the 16 or the 21-second variance. But again, that's 5 o'clock in the morning, so that's not appropriate for the time that we were interested in. And then the 20-second variance is coming from that inaccurate GPS position comparison.
Could we enlarge that a little bit, Ms. Gilman? On the 2021, is that plus or minus 21?
So that is minus 21.
The 20 and 21, is that based on different information than the 1, 2, and 8?
Yes, it is.
And explain again for us, where's the different source of the information?
Sure. So the minus 20 is coming from that GPS 0.1.
No, the expert that used his data is the expert for the Commonwealth. The DeSogra, he is an expert for the defense. This is his PowerPoint that this Commonwealth is now, the Commonwealth expert is now saying is incorrect. So he is basically impeaching the defense's witness who hasn't even testified yet. So now, when the defense's case in chief comes up, that expert is going to get on the stand and try to tell the jury all of his findings. But the Commonwealth's witness has just told the jury that all of his findings are wrong. So the jury's going to be thinking, as soon as the guy gets up there, oh, that other guy already told us that all this guy's findings are wrong. Are they going to listen and try to understand why his findings are right? Yes, this is the guy whose CVE was wrong. And he's saying that all of these calculations are incorrect. And this is a defense expert that he's saying all of his stuff is wrong.
54, which we know is not the end of the three-point turn. It's, right before the three-point turn begins. And the minus 21 is coming from the last phone call that happens around 5:20, I believe, or 5:30. And again, that's 5 hours after the time of interest.
The minus 20 and minus 21, is that suggesting that time should be taken off or put onto Mr. O'Keefe's phone for synchronization?
Sure. So that's suggesting that time should be, I'd have to go back to the other slides. I believe that's, either way, it's suggesting that the iPhone lock event occurs +6 or +5 seconds after the end of the text stream event.
Besides not accommodating for the timing of that timestamp at the beginning of the three-point turn, is there anything else about this that concerns you?
No, just that overall, these numbers can be misleading, again, because they're based on inaccurate adjustments, and could lead, again, the jury to believe that the lock event always happens after the end of the text stream event.
Could we go to the last page of Mr. DeSorga's report? Is this a conclusion offered by Mr. DeSorga?
Yes, it is.
Did you agree with that?
No, I did not.
Why not?
So based on those inaccurate adjustments, this slide is again kind of misleading in the fact that it states there's always interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the end of the text stream event.
You can take that down and turn that off, please, for a moment. After reviewing this report, you told us you then engaged in further study for synchronization.
Yes, I did.
Did you call me on May 7th?
Yes.
Okay. And what were you told to do about a report?
On May 7th?
Yes.
Sure. So that was finish the report and submit it.
Did you?
I did.
When did you submit it?
May 8th.
And do you know that it was provided to the defense by email on May 8th? Do you know if it was provided to the defense?
Yes, I know it was provided. I don't know when.
Now, if we could have Mr. Burgess's PowerPoint, we can go back to page 38, please. After you explain to us
Objection, Your Honor. Can we close, please, on scope?
I think we got behind a little bit. All the StreamYard problems. Uh-oh, I think lunch break again. Yep, lunch break. Okay. I'll see you guys back at 1. Oh, I said he lied. You said misrepresented. No, he lied. He lied. If he had put, I'm working on it, that wouldn't have been a lie. But he actually put a graduation date. Even if he had put expected graduation date, that would have been better. Okay, 1:50. Enjoy your lunch, guys, and I will see you back here at 1:50. Bye.